if anybody's read Austin on Two Wheels, I try to interview as many local builders as possible and support the local bike industry. And so we've got a lot of frame builder profiles on there. And this is sort of an extension of that, an audio version. And so we just want to have a little conversation, get to know some of the builders a little bit better. And so without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started. Again, Elliott McFadden's my name. I'm with Gallus Cycles and Austin on Two Wheels. To my right is Tim with Massengill Frames. Brad with True Fabrication. And also with Hammerhead Bikes. And then we have Jeremy with Gallus. So I just wanted to start out just a really simple question. So many people get into bikes and get excited about bikes. And so the first question I had for each of you was, what's your earliest memory of riding a bike?
My earliest memory riding a bike. My name is Cody. I'm with True Fabrication. It's all right. I'm one of 3 partners in True Fab over here. Clark and Mo are holding down the fort. And my earliest memory riding a bicycle, I know it's not, I was riding the bicycle before this, but what sticks out in my head was we had taken a gate off of a fence and put it down on jack stands for a car, and we were jumping the gate. It was a terrible jump. Had no bend, no curve, no pop to it. And my dad went out to get his camera, and when he came back to take the picture, I actually crashed. You know, went over and I ended up sliding my head with no helmet, right? You know, 25 years ago, into the ground, and blood was everywhere, and my mom was crying and freaking out. And so we can laugh and joke about it now, but it doesn't sound like a real positive memory.
Well, I haven't been cycling as long as you guys. When I was growing up, I played soccer and I did skateboarding. That was kind of the thing I was into. And then when I got older, and I actually spent a year in Austin when I was 18, I started doing, a roommate of mine got me into a triathlon, and that was kind of my first attempt to ride a serious bike. I actually just borrowed my dad's bike for a while, and then I eventually bought a road bike from Freewheeling, and that kind of got me into it. And then the year after that, I moved to Scotland, where the bike was my only mode of transport, and I cycled a lot around town to get to school. And then I got a messenger job on my days off from school, and that just got me really into cycling, and then kind of discovering that city and that country, and going out in the countryside and seeing the hills and the rain. And
how old were you when you got the messenger job?
20.
From first bike to messenger in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had bikes growing up, but I wasn't really that serious about them. And, but yeah, I kind of just, I'd see the guys coming around town, and then I met one of them in a pub, and I was like, how do you get a job? He's like, if you can be there tomorrow morning, you can have a job. And
after you drink a bunch of
beer,
and you're drinking a ride tomorrow morning.
And so I turned up the next day, and he was like, I wasn't expecting you to turn up, but so that's kind of what started that. And then I just spent so much time on my bike doing that I just fell in love, and kind of come from a design background, so it's kind of a progression. But it's been 10 years of bikes being a really solid part of my life. So
like Cody, growing up as a kid in Ohio, Evel Knievel was big, so anything I could do to make a jump. I kind of forgot about that a little bit, but I remember my my dad telling me I tore up a bunch of rear wheels and stuff like that. But the incarnation that is as it is today, with the formative probably incident, was we had about 4 or 5 of us kids. We were in 5th grade at the time. We wanted to go backpacking in the Hoosier National Forest, and we couldn't get an adult to go, but we had an adult that said, okay, if we can pack stuff on a bike, we'll ride state park to state park. So we did that for a week. Schwinn Varsies, Schwinn Suburbans, 5 speeds, 10 speeds, Cannondale Panniers. Didn't know what we were doing. We thought we trained a little bit. The first day was 90 miles. We got in, we were pulling into the little town at dusk, so we stopped and ate pizza and rode the last 2 miles to the state park in the dark. No lights, This was a long time ago, back in the 80s. Rained that night. We looked at the stars, said the stars are out, it's not going to rain, and we woke up with 6 inches of water in our tents. How old were you? How old was I? I don't know. I was in 5th grade, 5th to 6th grade, so right around that time. I moved to Indiana when I was in 5th grade, so it was, I think, the summer between 5th and 6th, maybe between 6th and 7th. So. Been doing it ever since. I'm not sure why, but it's been a lot of fun.
Thanks. I had a similar situation about that same age in 6th grade or so. My dad had the idea of a vacation where you'd go on Ragbri, which is a ride across Iowa. It's usually about 500 miles over 7 days, and didn't ride for about 10 years after that. So, but we all come back to it because riding is great. So the next question is, so what moment or series of events led you to consider becoming a frame builder?
Well, forward a couple of years of doing that trip around state parks, unlike Elliott, we actually did ride the next year. Actually, it was when I was in college. I had a Trek 510, rode it to class one day, thought I hit it really well, and when I came out, it was gone. It's like, okay, I need a bike. How can I get a bike? And this was just a little bit. It was a little bit actually before the Hilly 100 down in Bloomington, so I ended up having to ride my mom's bike. I didn't jack the seat up and throw a different stem on it. But anyhow, long story short, my dad had gone to school and knew a gentleman by the name of Doug Faddick up in Niles, Michigan, and he took me there, introduced me to him, and asked if he could teach me how to build a bike. And there's more to that story, more stories about that process, but that's basically the episode that got me into frame building, and ever since then I've loved it. And that was mid 80s at that time, mid to late 80s. I was out of high school, so probably about 87, 88.
This is Cody with True Fab again, and this story is such a common question. We say it a lot. It's Clark and I, and at the time a friend of ours, Cole, were riding back from a trip to Colorado. We'd spent 16 hours in the car together and just talking. And we'd all been long-time, bike geeks. And, quite often I get asked the question, why did you want to do this? And I think for most people who ride a bike for any amount of time, like when you pour your soul and some of your identity into it, you have this appreciation and fascination with making a bicycle. And we were no different. And so we just talked about it for 16 hours, and we made a commitment to try and take. It's so funny. Like when I say these things, I laugh at myself because it has no real bearing on getting yourself to the point of making a frame. But we're gonna buy a jig, and we're gonna take welding classes. And when you don't know anything about making frames, that sounds like what you need to do. And the truth is, we were lucky. Now, as I say, we were committed. We might have been committed, but we were still lucky. And we ran across some equipment that was pretty much what you needed to make a frame. We had tubing and a welder and a mill, and it was just it was a stroke of luck, just the opportunity. And from there became the tenacity. We just figured out how to miter and how to weld and how to configure tubes, and we had a strong mechanical and bicycle and fabricating aptitude, and we did a lot of the foundation and basics there. And then really what changed everything for us is Clark went to UBI frame building school, and when he came back from UBI, he had the golden notebook, and he came back with frame number 1, and then all the pieces and the orders and the process to make it happen. And there's a gentleman that I kind of know and follow on some of the frame building circles, who put it in words really well. He said, actually making a bicycle frame, the steps to making a bicycle frame are not terribly difficult. It's just overcoming the magnitude of the inertia of the project. So if there's 2,000 steps to getting a bicycle frame made, each one of those 2,000 steps is not that difficult. But lining up the 2,000, most people don't get past step 10.